Anyway, good morning, Jeremy and Joe. I woke up this morning, and the first thing I did was check the out-of-town NHL scoreboard. And I thought it's good. My first thought was, let me check the scoreboard. My second thought was, usually in the last 5, 6, 7 years, when I wake up and check something on the Sabres, it's did someone get fired yet? I used to do that. Like, Housley get fired yet? No. Kruger get fired? No.
Yeah.
I would wake up every morning to see if somebody got fired or not. Last night, I woke up this morning and checked that NHL scoreboard. I think it was a good night. Owen's doing a service for everybody. He's tweeting out every game, the stakes, why this, why that. Last night you had Columbus lose in regulation to Boston. I think that's good. And Washington plays tonight. I think we are you guys already all the way down to saying there are 10 teams for 8 spots? Because below Washington, it gets dicey. Ottawa did win last night, but I think that was ultimately better. Right? Who did Ottawa beat?
Ottawa beat they lost to Detroit.
Sorry, that's
in overtime.
That's what I meant. Ottawa lost, so they got 1 point. They're 7 out.
Yeah.
I feel like the Leafs lost again, and they are DEAD.
Yeah,
dead as dead can get. The Sabres, if they beat Florida tonight, remember when they were 10 up on Florida? It's 9 now. Florida won last night. The Sabres could get up to 11 up on Florida. Like, go ahead and
that's a big
bury Florida.
Yeah, for
so,
sure.
I the out-of-town scoreboard, it was a little bit of that's okay. There's a 3-point game here and there. But generally, I think it went fine last night. As you check out these scenarios, and this is good, this is bad, are you going to assess it a grade after a night?
I was thinking this morning coming in, because there were so many, I couldn't even fit all the games that were last night in one tweet. I should do a report card day before, or from the day before I tweet out the new one.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start doing that. I'll get one up for today, for last night's games, and moving forward, we'll have 2 posts every morning. I'll do how did last night go? Did we win the games we needed to win? What's tonight? Who are we rooting for?
Yeah.
So I'll do that every morning for the rest of the stretch run here.
And maybe not only how good and bad it was, but how annoying it is. The Red Wings winning in overtime on 20 shots again. Here's Detroit. Detroit getting another win that's not a regulation win, which is pretty much their thing this year.
Right.
Vegas and Washington tonight.
Yeah, that's the only game with another Eastern Conference team playing tonight.
Do the Knights get all their guys back? Is Eichel, Stone, Marner, are they back?
I
Shea
would
Theodore.
think that after a game they're going to get them back in.
They are supposed to play tonight.
I've heard a lot of the conversations about what happens with Eichel. How about if they beat the Caps tonight, standing ovation no matter what? Because beating the Caps would be nice.
It would.
Beat the Caps.
I think last night was back. It was a little up and down. To me, the worst thing that happened last night, the way I laid it out yesterday was you don't really have a 5-point lead over Washington because you need to be caught by 3 Metro teams for that to matter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So you have a 5-point lead over Washington, you have a 2-point lead over Pittsburgh, and a 3-point lead over the Islanders. So in reality, you kind of have a 9-point lead over the Metro because you need 9 points to be made up across 3 teams to fall out of a playoff spot. That has to happen. Last night, Pittsburgh won and the Islanders won, so suddenly you can't really play that game. That game now is 6 very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The Islanders only need 1 point made up on you, and then it will matter that Washington needs 5 because you got to fill those 2 spots first. So in that way, it wasn't the greatest night. Montreal only getting a point helps a little bit, help keep that top 3 in range, striking distance all throughout. So thought it was a midnight for the out-of-town.
The Detroit-Ottawa game going to overtime sucks. You don't want that. That's not great. But
I would have taken it flipped around. I mean, anything
flipped around would have been fine.
Yeah.
But ideally, you just don't give out 3 points to Eastern Conference teams that are chasing or right ahead of you. It was fine.
Should we even get to the point where, the 3-point game, understanding it's bad, it's not as bad as when you're chasing those teams. Because being ahead of, you're kind of even with Detroit. So if Detroit gets a win, but it's not a regulation win, all right, the Sabres have a 4-win lead in the tiebreaker over Detroit.
Right.
Yeah.
So
and 6 over Montreal, by the way.
Right. That's what I mean.
6 over Montreal.
These 3-point games, they are annoying, and we don't want all the other teams to get 2 and 1. But when you're in a spot, it's less damaging to me because, again, last night, Ottawa and Detroit. Ottawa gets 1.
Yeah.
And Detroit gets 2. You flip that around, I feel good because Detroit didn't get their maximum points.
And I think the other best news about still where the standings sit, even though they won last night, like they're still far enough away that any of the teams that you would look around and worry about, like that team is good enough that I think they could make up this gap that they have on you. Like Florida is still the danger team that you would think of for that because of their pedigree of winning back-to-back Stanley Cups. But they are further away than your Washingtons and your Columbuses. So should I really take them seriously? Because when I look at the Caps or the Blue Jackets or the Senators or any of those other teams, I don't really think you're good enough.
Yeah.
It's not just that you're 5-back, 6-back, 7-back. I don't think you got what it takes to make that up. Florida is the only one that I think would, but they're not 7-back. They are 9-back.
9-back.
So, at what point am I supposed to say, well, I don't really care how good you are. 9 points is too much to overcome.
And they did beat a team, but they beat the Leafs, which almost doesn't count.
Yeah.
The Leafs are so
cooked.
ready to die in this season. Like,
did you see the goal that they scored where a Leafs defenseman was just skating backwards, fell over himself, took out another Leafs defender, and gave the Florida Panthers a 2-on-1, which they scored.
We're talking like Tank Sabres energy?
For real. It's a nightmare goal. They came out, their CEO, Keith Pelly, sent out a letter to the fan, and then they've tanked these first 2 games in horrific fashion after saying, like, we're going to do whatever it takes to win. And we're gonna try and fix this.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, by like one other way to maybe judge a little bit of like how did last night go is if you look at all the sites and do the playoff odds day by day, how do they look today versus yesterday? And the answer is that they are either exactly the same or a very small decrease.
Yep.
Like HockeyStats.com had them at 91% yesterday, and they're at 90% today. Evolving Hockey, they're the exact same. So, you know, if it is a drop, it's a very small drop. And the wins, like, it could change a lot in one day. Like, I had Dom Lecision from The Athletic, because I tweeted out yesterday, what's their odds at all these different sites? And Dom Lecision tweeted, that number actually this morning, that early, wasn't updated yet. It went from 76% to 84% with them beating New Jersey. Mm-hmm. He's like, one win can be that much.
Wow.
Like 7-8% difference. So 1% lost on a single night out of town is not really that. It's not much.
Well, the number I tweeted it yesterday, and I wasn't here enough. You guys discussed it. So we're in one of those spots where you guys had a full show yesterday, and I'll say things, and you'll be like, yeah, we said that yesterday, you dope. Is that they need 24 points in 24 games to reach 98 or whatever.
The projected line.
The projected cut line. And it's a 500 points percentage, and this is a point about maybe the entire NHL with 3-2-1 or whatever, with 3-point games.
Yeah.
Only one team in the East has not played at a 500-point pace, which, said another way, they could be equal to the second worst team in the East for the rest of the year, and they should make it. That's kind of what that says.
Right.
If everybody's pace also stayed the same and these teams in the middle didn't get red hot or anything.
And if you're okay being really stressed right to the very end, because it might come down to the final days of the season if you do that.
I don't want to do that.
Because the way they're tracking now, the final week of the season will just kind of be kick your feet up and let's figure out who you want to play.
Right. And who can you tinker lines? Is there anything we want to adjust? Make sure we got the goalie we want. So that's a nice place to be.
To that point, I saw, I believe was it Chad? Let me check here. On watching the out-of-town scoreboard and all that when you're checking the games and what you're looking for, might have been Chad, might have been Chris Oster. Okay, I think it was Chris. Anyway, about some games are for, are you going to make the playoffs, who's going to get in, and others are for scouting. Mm-hmm. Tonight you're watching for Montreal versus Detroit, and these are less games about who makes it, but about which team would you like to play. Right. And I know you said that the Sabres are like 38% to play Montreal based on, everyone else running numbers and all this. And, boy, would we ever sign up for that?
Oh. Yeah, right now they're 30% to play Montreal, and the next closest is Boston at 14%.
Yeah. There is a possibility if it goes to the final week-ish of the season, they close out late. I'm looking at April. Here's your April schedule for the Sabres.
Okay.
They play Ottawa. Then they go to Washington. There's a chance that one is really big because Washington is one of the teams on the outside that's trying to get back in. And I'm thinking of a game a couple years ago, I mean like 12 by now. There's a game.
I think I know the game you're about to reference.
There's a game they win in Washington.
Yeah.
Where Pominville strips Ovechkin and scores, and the Sabres win 5-1, and it was like, there it is. They're going to make it. And then after that, I think Ehrhoff got hurt, and they completely fell apart. That's how far – it was Ehrhoff a year. Oh, my God. Right. That's like 12 years ago at least. But he's been
bought out for 10 years, I think.
Right. They win in Washington, and I can remember that game being like, they're going to make it. They were smoking hot, and the Capitals were falling apart, and they went and they beat the team they were kind of chasing, and then they lost. Also, late in the season, April 9th, third to last game, Columbus, here.
Mm-hmm.
That could be a clinch game. Mm-hmm. Columbus is the other team right on the outside trying to get in. You know, going this far and forecasting who's going to be where, it could very easily be if you win this, you pass them, and you might already be in the 3 or the 2 spot in the Atlantic. But anyway, they've got the Blackhawks and the Stars to finish also. So Rangers,
nice.
Islanders, it's Lightning. They get some home games, they get some road games, as one would expect. We're feeling good, right? We're feeling good.
I'm playing around with some of the odds here. This is, again, like the Metro point right now. Like, I guess maybe do I need to get here? I'm not worried about any of the Metro teams right now because I feel like they are all going to fight it out for 2 spots. And they're all four of those teams, or 3 of the 4 that are below Carolina, beating out the Sabres between now and the end of the season just doesn't feel that likely at all. Like when I'm to do the same thing, kind of that same exercise I just did with the Sabres. Like, what are their odds to play different opponents? And by that, you can kind of tell like what their odds are of getting each spot, right? Like if you're 30% to play Montreal, the only way you're playing Montreal is if you're in one of the 2 or 3 positions. When I do that with Washington, for instance, who are their most likely opponents in the first round, other than missing the playoffs, it goes Pittsburgh, then Columbus, then the New York Islanders. Like before I get to the 2 division winners, which would be your teams you would match up with if you're in the wild card, 3.5% for Tampa, 3.5% for Carolina. Like that's like telling me, Washington is like 50% likely if they get in, more than that, to get in to play another Metro team. For them to take a spot you're eligible for, they're only 7% chance of that happening.
Okay.
Of getting, I just don't think I think the Atlantic teams are the ones you should be rooting against harder on these night-to-night bases, even though Ottawa at the moment is lower. Because just Ottawa catches me, and that's all it takes. Washington has to catch me, while also Pittsburgh and the Islanders have to track me down and do the same thing. Although they're not that far back, right? They're like 1 point back.
Right. Shouldn't we go back to the old playoff format?
Yes, because this makes it convoluted. It's really... Washington is sitting there 5 points back, and I think there's a good argument that they're not really 5 points back. But it becomes this complex way of looking at it that I think is the right way to look at it, but it makes it that the playoff format should be a lot simpler.
Yeah, if you went back to the old 1 through 8, and that's not even just like...
Then nothing I would have just said would have mattered.
Right. 1 through 8, the Sabres are in 6th, but if they win tonight, they'd be in 3rd.
Right.
And the NHL loves to artificially create tension where there shouldn't be. It's their argument against the 3-2-1 point system.
Yeah.
Which is a bad argument. But the separation right now between 3rd and 9th is 7 points.
It's funny, though. They would be in... Do you remember what it was, though, during 1 through 8? Like the automatic division...
Everybody wanted 6 so you could meet the weak division leader.
Well, no, right, because the division winners would automatically get 1, 2, 3. Mm-hmm. So if I were to go back to what it was under the old divisions, wouldn't the Sabres be 1 point back because they in Montreal were in that division?
Right, that's right. They're not in Tampa's division. That's
right, so you'd be 1 point out of a top 3 spot.
Yeah.
And you'd be fighting with Montreal for a division title that matters for, a top seed in the first round. I think even that, honestly, is better than what they have right now. I hate what they have right now.
It's terrible.
And really, we've never gone through it because they've never made the playoffs under this format. Right. This would be the first time.
It's convoluted. It forces matchups in the playoffs that don't need to be forced, that aren't whatever. They don't. The seeding is wrong. They've had it for a long time too. It stinks. Anyway, out of town scoreboard, weather. Quick note: Aaron Mankowski texted in. I said Andy, by the way, Andy Parker earlier. I meant Aaron Mankowski. Aaron's on WBEN every morning, And he has, we got more corroboration, guys. The 8 to 14 day temperature outlook, thanks, Aaron, for tweeting this in, 90 to 100% above average in the 8 to 14 day outlook. From March 6th to 12th,
Okay.
we are getting a big warm up. I'm calling for I'm calling for a tea time right now. Let's get some tea times. On the 8th,
That ground is going to be muddier.
On March 8th, we're going to go play 18 in waders and muck boots.
I was going to say.
And then we're going to the game, and for the first time in 12 to 14 to 20 years, people will play golf and then go to a meaningful Buffalo Sabres game.
Can I stop home to change first?
We're going right in the mud.
Right from the mud
Yep.
to the arena?
Everyone will know, like, oh, you guys must have been on the course. 803-0550, 1-888-552-550. Good morning. Give us a call. At the Combine, it's a big day. It is Wide Receiver Media Day, which means I get to dream big. Big, big, big.